Hi, my name is Deb Enright, and this is Money Matters. Thank you for joining us today. Our program focuses on the work of our parents in our schools. Williamson County Schools benefits from the resources our parents are willing to share to provide our students with the best educational opportunities possible. And I'm not talking about just writing a check for school supplies or buying a cupcake to support the football team. Our parents provide their time, talent, and yes, treasure to our school community. Today, we talk with Sherry Hammond, current president of the newly formed PTO Leadership Council and president of the Ravenwood High School PTO. We will also be joined by Susan Graham. Susan just stepped off of the school board and finds herself right at home as the vice president of the Brentwood High School PTO. Then we travel to Grassland Elementary School to share the story of parents working alongside the faculty to make dreams come true. Today's program celebrates the important part parents play in the success of our Williamson County schools. I'll be right back in just a moment with Sherry Hammond.
Where can I find out about the Venus flytrap?
Where can I research information on my business competitors?
What is the safety record on the car I want?
Where can I research careers?
Where?
I'm all shook up.
The Tennessee Electronic Library. That's where. And it's free to everyone in our state. Now go to your public library and find out how you can log on and get your password to a world of information just for living in our state. You can probably even figure out the password just by listening to my voice.
I'm all shook up.
And welcome back to Money Matters. I'm joined now with Sherry Hammond. Sherry, thank you for joining us.
Deb, thank you. It's a delight to be here this afternoon.
Well, in my short time here with the district, you are one of the players, and it is so fun to get to talk to you about what I know is a real passion for you.
Yes.
And that's the PTO and how parents can get involved. And not only are you a great model, but you seem to be building great new organizational structures for that to happen as well. And I want to talk about that, but first I'd love for all of us to understand how you first got involved with the PTO.
I first got involved in the WCS PTO about 14 years ago. We had just moved back to Williamson County, and our two oldest children were at Crockett Elementary. And at that time, our youngest was old enough that I could begin to get involved and to be a part. The next year is when Kenrose Elementary opened. So I was one of the starting members of that PTO at the time, and once I began, I just have never stopped and have carried that on all the way through the elementaries, the middle, and of course now into the high school.
That's incredible. I'm sure every single school has its own story about how you can get involved. Okay, so now I understand there is a new structure, and it gives us even a wider lens to look through parent involvement, and I believe it's called the PTO Leadership Council.
Yes.
So can you explain that, what that means?
I would be glad to. It's one of my favorite topics nowadays to talk about. I formed the PTO Leadership Council about 3 years ago. Of course, talked with Dr. Looney and whatnot to get his approval to do so. It really came from a conversation that I had with school board member Gary Anderson. And Gary and I were actually talking about something else. And as that happens, we were just talking about the county as a whole, talking about Ravenwood and the feeder schools. And what I shared with him was just this thought that we have become so big in Williamson County. You know, we have 42 schools. At that time, there were a few less, but still we're big, we're comprehensive. There's PTOs are very different nowadays than they used to be. And there was just a need, I believe, for us to begin to talk across school lines, you know, especially at the high school level. We can all play that big old football game and be competitive, but when it comes to supporting the schools, and the PTOs are school support organizations. So we needed to be able to not only serve our own school, but how can we go across those lines to help each other work collaboratively. There's a lot of things that come down the pike, even from the legislature nowadays, that we need to be involved in. So Gary and I were having this conversation. He had shared with me that about 20 plus years ago, a group like ours had been formed. They really had a project in mind, and it was the first ever county-wide calendar. So they completed their project and really didn't have another one in the hamper, so they just kind of disbanded. So he also encouraged me to go for this type of thing. So again, met with Dr. Looney, and we began this process. I'm so excited about it because what it's done is it's engaged parents, parents that are already leaders in their schools, and they are willing to take it to the next level. We try to incorporate at least 3 parents from the elementary, middle, and high school level. We want that cross-representation. We also look very closely at geography. We want it to be spread across our county. We are a self-appointed group, so to speak. We do have policies and procedures in place, but we're different than the first one. We're not really project-based at this point, though we have been involved in some focus groups. But we are very much have a 5-fold mission, which I'd be glad to share with you if you'd like to learn more.
That sounds great.
Okay. Our mission is, what I like to call it is, I refer to it as the C list. C being the most important letter of that. That's communication. No matter what we do, we're trying to communicate, whether that's to each other, whether that's down to the parents, whether it's to our schools, whether it's with central office. The next letter in list, of course, is L, and that's as a liaison. We have been able to be a liaison, especially with central office. A lot of times we're a sounding board. We love that. We regard ourselves as parent volunteers as being down in the bowels of the ship, so to speak. So when we come up out of the bowels, then we're able to share and we're able to glean and helpfully be a sounding board for central office. The I is to stay informed. We are committed to staying informed. And again, that's at our local level. It's also at the county level and at the state level. S is to serve. We are committed servers. We are serving each other. As I said, everyone on the board is either on their own board or have just come off their own board. So very committed servers in our county. And the last one, of course, is T for training. Along with training comes educating. We love to educate and help to educate. By being a part of this process, and I encourage parents to think and to consider being a part of this group, you really get to know how our county is set up. You get to know how the system is set up, even from, again, the state level, how things are set up. You get to know about funding. You get to know about all sorts of opportunities we have to seed into our schools. So that is kind of the mission where we're at. And as we're forming that, we're looking forward to see what sort of projects or goals that we can reach for the county.
So this sounds a bit like a clearinghouse of information from, as you said, the state down to even the local level.
Yes.
And because you guys are, you know, let's say on the front lines, you can not only get parents engaged and inform them about how to get engaged, but also inform the central office,
Yes.
as well as I would suspect the state level for any kind of feedback on programs or what's going to happen, that kind of thing. I guess what I like about what this does and how you started off in your description with all your energies, I can tell how much you like it, is this looking across the district.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
there are so many gifts all around the district and so many different experiences because we have so many folks coming in from different parts of the country, and that just helps to make us stronger. Well, Sherry, we're going to be joined by one of your friends and one of your
Great.
cohorts, Susan Graham, in just a moment. And what we'll do is, since we've talked a good amount about the council, maybe we could even take it now down to the school level and you all can talk about what that experience is like, so maybe we can get some new folks to become a part of the PTOs in the schools. So
That's excellent.
thank you, Sherry, so much.
Thank you, Deb.
And we'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back to Money Matters. So now we're joined by one of my inspirations. She's a great stay-at-home, and she's totally involved in the community. Her name is Susan Graham. And Susan, thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting me, Deb. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm so excited to have both of you guys at the same time. And what I want to talk about first with you is, just like we do with Sherry, is a little bit about your involvement, just so everybody knows, and I know your face is very familiar in all the schools. You've just come off your term of service with a school board. And so what I want to talk about is how that impacts your participation in the PTO, because you're already back serving the high school. So talk to me about that.
That was such an exciting thing for me. It was a tough decision to make, not to run for re-election. I so enjoyed the opportunity to serve my community that way and to serve the students in our schools. It was just a great, great experience. So it was really a harder decision not to run than to run for me. So being able to go back to my school, and after I had decided not to run, I got a phone call, and the phone call went, "Susan, would you consider being our vice president this year and serving as president the next year," which will coincide with my son's senior year? And I was so excited to say yes. So that's how I'm back at Brentwood High School again, being able to serve in the capacity, which ironically was where I was when I left to become a school board member.
Oh, how funny. Oh, I love that.
So I've just bookended my school board career with PTO.
Well, something tells me that the Brentwood High experience was not your first dip into the PTO pool. So can you talk to me about that, and then kind of characterize the differences, if there are any, from elementary to middle to high school?
Sure. Yes, I served as a PTO president at the elementary level at Scales, and then at Brentwood Middle and at Brentwood High. Each of them are very different in some ways, but all the same in others. The differences lie a lot in the way you're involved. In the elementary school, you are very hands-on, usually in the classroom, doing things like reading, working on multiplication skills, assisting the teacher with perhaps pulling out worksheets, doing things with small groups. Very hands-on, involved with students a lot. There are also committees there too that serve different roles. So you're not just in the classroom, but you can be involved in different things, like some of our festivals that the schools do, some of the fairs they do, such as the book fair, Grandparents' Day, lots of opportunities there. Then in the middle school, you kind of take a little step back. Some people call it a little breather, because in middle school your children are not as excited to have mom and dad right there with them. And it's a time for them to grow up and become a little more independent. So you do things like the different activities that support them in ways that are not in the classroom, where you're just face-to-face with them every day. Then when you go to the high school level, you're back hands on deck. There are so many co-curricular clubs, extracurricular, booster groups, support groups for all the different activities that our students do, and they are so excited and great to have parents right there with them, helping to make sure all of those things that need to happen to make these programs successful do happen. And our parents are so talented, so gifted, and so willing to serve that these things do happen because of that. Lots of hours are given.
So what you're also saying, maybe implicitly, because I guess both of you guys, some folks might think, if I'm not started in elementary, I'm out.
Not at all.
But what you're saying, because you've described these different ways, it also is, how does it fit for your life? So I guess if I was thinking about it from somebody who may have a full-time job and then cart their children to the extracurricular things, may have some volunteer work that they do outside of the school, I can't be there to help with reading, or even in the middle school, go to a committee meeting, or help with the high school if it becomes hands-on again. So what can I possibly do for my kids to let them know that I really, really want to help at the school?
There are so many ways to do that. Ironically for me, that was exactly what my case was. When my oldest started to kindergarten, my youngest was 2 months old. I was not able to leave him at home yet. So the kindergarten teacher so graciously sent things home with him that I could do, such as organize the books and the tapes that the students would listen to, or organize the cassettes that were played during nap time. It gave Will a chance to see that I was being given something that was important for the classroom and then to take it back. And it gave me a chance to feel like I was involved. That's always been important to me, to be involved, to be part of the things that serve and help our schools. So that gave me an opportunity to do that. There are those opportunities all throughout. You don't have to be at the school between the 7:30 and 2:30 or 8:30 and 3:30 times to be a great asset to the school. There are lots of opportunities for that.
Well, that makes me feel better, and I'm sure a bunch of prospective PTO people. And I think what you just talked about, having that model for your children about how the whole family can participate. And I also think it causes other children, when they see parents come into the school, or maybe they're at a fundraiser. We haven't even talked about fundraising. We've talked about time. We've talked about talent. And I know you guys, I mean, it is incredible, not only the amount, but what that funding does for a district who is funded like we are. So can you talk just a little bit about that whole money side of the PTO? Sherry, do you want to start with that?
I would be glad to. Deb, yes, and that's one of the part, even back on that leadership council, when we say we want to educate people as to how the county is set up and how our funding is set up. Because the bottom line is, it does take a lot of money and resources. Of course, also our hours and other things, but we do have a lot of need for resources in our county. So on top of just the operating budget that is really split between the state, a little bit of federal, and then our county commissioners. That's about $240 million approximately. On top of that, there's another $10 million that comes directly into our schools through things like concessions and tickets, we call that gate, through the payment of fees and a whole ancillary list of things. And then we have the dollars that the PTOs raise, and that's somewhere in the range between $2 to $3 million on a year basis. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of, we hold a lot of responsibility to use those funds wisely. So again, when we're talking about parents' commitment, it can be on so many different levels, as Susan has said, from coming in the door or having projects brought home to you, also by joining your PTOs, and really some PTOs charge a fee, some don't, but for those that do, they have boards, they have budgets. There's lots of ways that you can seed into the school if you believe that education is important.
Well, and I think what I've learned today is that it really is just a matter of participate. Don't wait until I have time. Right. And now I know I don't have to be at the school, and it doesn't matter K-12 what my participation level is, it's just that I am.
Absolutely.
That helps the school, it helps the district, and it also is a great model for our children. And it also doesn't have to be a full-time job. It can be once a month or once a quarter or...
Right.
Well, I'm always interested to know, particularly with folks who are so active, maybe a small nugget you can share with us in a quick wrap-up. And Susan, let's start with you about one particular thing that was just kind of inspired you as a PTO member.
Oh, Deb, there's so many, so many. So to narrow it down to one, I think is perhaps the first one. It's always like, you know, the very first. But when you watch children being given a laptop to use for the first time and have a computer lab that was mobile, and to see those funds raised and to see those not only in the classroom, but to see those being fought for in the classroom. That was such an exciting event because we had raised, our parents had seen the need and heard the principal express a desire that he thought this was something that would be good. So to see that happen, and then it's that over and over again, to meet with your principal to decide what those things are that PTO can do to support your school and to see those come into fruition. That's really exciting.
Oh, I love that. And how about you, Sherry?
I want to take a little bit of a different approach on that. Part to me that is so important is making sure that our students are comfortable in our schools and they feel like they are a part. So I think back of the many times, especially through Ravenwood, we do something at the beginning of the year called Red Letter Days, where it's kind of that welcome back to school. There's nothing greater to me than seeing a student come in, a little bit shy, could be a rising ninth grader, could be a new student, could be a transfer student, and we just kind of help to usher that in. We provide them not necessarily even material things as much as it is support. We're supporting our teachers. The teachers are so appreciative of the things that we do for them. And that list, as Susan said, goes on and on and on. So I think back to why I'm doing the PTO. Of course it is for the value of education and all of those important things, but also because, you know what, it helped my own children become comfortable with school, become an advocate for their school, and if I can help pave that way for other students, then we've done something good.
I'm inspired to just go and get involved. I mean, I'm one of those parents that kind of is on the periphery, but I get such a great energy from both of you and feel as though, as I'm sure many do, that now there is something that I can do to make a difference. And I love the partnerships that you have with the administrators, that you make with the faculty, and I'm sure the kind of fun partnerships you make even with the other parents, particularly with the council. Well, we could, you know, the three of us could go on forever.
Sure.
And we have come to a close. And the next thing we're actually going to do, you guys will enjoy, we go to Grassland Elementary and find out about one of the ways that they are seeking alternative funds to bolster their BYOT program. So that's going to be cool.
Awesome.
I hope you'll stay
Very
for that.
good, very good.
But thank you, Sherry Hammond and Susan Graham.
Thank you,
This has been just wonderful. These guys at Grassland have done some extraordinary things with some grant writing, and so we want to talk about how the Grassland what's it called, Jennifer?
It's the Grassland School Community Association.
Okay, and that would be like a PTO, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So
GSCA for short.
GSCA, perfect. So can you walk me through, you guys have just written a big grant for technology to help your kids increase the access for the BYOT initiative. So can you tell me about that?
Sure. We here at Grassland really wanted to get behind the BYOT initiative that's countywide, and we also wanted to bring back a computer instructor to our school that we've been without for a couple of years. And so we looked at different funding sources for that, and grant writing was the best way to get some funding for that quickly.
That's awesome. So Elvia, as the computer instructor, technology instructor, excuse me, how did you communicate with Jennifer and the rest of the committee who took on this initiative to get started?
We communicated, first we started via email, just putting together ideas of what they wanted for this grant. And specifically they asked me what my dream lab would look like. And so I started by looking at the standards that we have to have the children be able to comply, and then seeing what need we had in the whole school. And so based on that, I did research. You can go online and Google anything, and just compiled all that data to bring that back to Jennifer to tell her what our physical technical needs were to be able to make that dream lab and comply with all the standards.
That's awesome. So you made a wish list.
Exactly.
And you put it in the capable hands of the parents. And so Jennifer, walk me through what that was like, how you gathered the information, how you worked with the schools so that we understand that this is another toolbox for our parents and our schools to use to gather more resources for instructional purposes.
Yeah, well, again, we started with just seeing the needs in the school. It was really a dream of parents as well. And so talking to Elvia as well as our other staff here at school that had connections, obviously, into what was needed educationally speaking. We worked with the principal, who then connected us with county grant writing assistants. So I had tremendous support, not only with the parents and the staff here at Grassland, but throughout the county as well.
Now, had you written a grant before?
Yes, but just a very small part. I was a support, basically. I helped somebody else write a grant. She did the lion's share of the work, so I was somewhat familiar with the process. But there are a lot of grants, including the one that we applied for, that it's pretty straightforward. They give you all the requirements that you need to fulfill. So it's just a matter of doing the research and answering their questions.
So this is another way for parents to get involved in helping to increase the resources in the school. So if you can't necessarily help on site, this is a way for you to help kind of from home. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely one that is accessible to all parents, working and non-working.
And so you worked with the faculty and the administration,
Yes.
and then you went ahead and wrote the grant. And then was there some process that they went through to kind of, did they look at the grant again and then you all, I mean, was there a process of kind of, yeah, that's a good idea, maybe we need to tweak it this way?
Yes, yes, there were multiple rounds of sharing the grant and the different drafts. Elvia, as well as other members of the staff here, looked at it and reviewed it. Again, and also there's a grant writing helper at the county level who looked at it for us. We got approval all the way up and down until everybody felt really comfortable that we were putting our best foot forward.
So you think this is something, both of you think this is something that if we use more of, we can expand our access to different resources. And it's not just for technology, is it? Well, there would be other ways we could do that.
Not at all. The little grant that I worked on a couple of years ago was actually for a water fountain out in our playground. Our kids didn't have access to water on hot summer days unless they brought their own water bottles, and that was something that as parents we wanted to change. And so we wrote a grant for that a couple of years ago and were able to secure the funds to have that accomplished. So from water fountains to your technology needs.
To arts, Grassland has actually had experience writing a grant to get monies for the arts, also for a garden that they're setting up. So it's not just focused on one single type of technology or only. It can be all the way around, all subject areas, if you will.
Oh, that's terrific. So, you know, very quickly, how would you all encourage other parents or other PTOs to get involved with grant writing?
I would say get people who have different interests in all the different arts, if you will. You have your parents that like that, you have your technology. Get them together and say, what do you see that there's a need here? And then once you identify your needs, go out and do the research. There has to be multiple grants out there to support all of those different activities.
Yes, I agree with that. Look around you, see what you feel like is missing or just could be improved within the school, and get together with other parents and staff at the school and dream a little, and then look for resources.
That's fantastic. Thank you both for your time. I think Grassland Elementary is on its way to getting any and all resources it may need because of people like you. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So there you have it. The parents of our students in Williamson County are engaged in a variety of partnerships with our schools in ways that go beyond the bake sale of years ago. They help to fund projects and buy equipment. They lend their expertise in the classroom and on committees. They give of their time to tackle initiatives large and small centered on supporting our teachers and administrators to provide the best experiences for our students in and out of the classroom. And with what we learned today, our parents continue to create new avenues of service and support that now reach out across playgrounds and ball fields, across performing arts spaces and auxiliary gyms throughout the district. The time, talent, and treasure of our parents. We cannot put a price tag on so much of what our parents give to support our schools, but in the end, without all of their resources, we know that we could not deliver the kind of education found in our schools, and that is why money matters. The PTO Leadership Council and the Williamson County School Development Office invite you to take a fresh look at supporting your school. Learn how to write a grant. Elementary schools will have that opportunity Thursday, January 24th, and middle and high schools on Monday, January 28th. One member from each PTO, PTSO, or PTA should attend. RSVP to deborah@wcs.edu by Friday, December 21st. See you there. Let us know what topic you would like to hear about on this program. We look forward to your suggestions and feedback. And thank you for watching. My name is Deb Enright, and this is Money Matters. See you next time.